The girl in a wheelchair was excluded from the school dance until a friend did something that changed her life. The deafening sound of the school bell echoed through the corridors of Lincoln High School in Portland, Oregon. Megan Foster gripped the wheels of her chair and spun them deftly maneuvering through the crowd of students hurrying to leave. Her blue eyes, framed by locks of brown hair, scanned the corridor for a familiar face. "Hey, Meg, hold on!" The excited voice of her best friend, Zoe Chen, rang out above the hubbub. Megan smiled, stopping to wait for Zoe to catch up. The two 16-year-olds couldn't have been more different at first glance, Megan with her wheelchair and Zoe with her quick, energetic strides, but they shared a deep friendship since childhood. "So, how was history class?" asked Megan, as they headed for the exit. Zoe rolled her eyes dramatically. "Ugh, Mr. Patterson gave us another group assignment. I swear he does it just to torture us." Megan laughed, but her smile faltered a little. Group work was always complicated for her. Not all her classmates knew how to deal with her condition, and sometimes she felt like a burden. When they reached the schoolyard, they were greeted by an explosion of colors and sounds. Huge posters announced the spring dance, scheduled for a month from now. Groups of students crowded around the murals, commenting animatedly on dresses, dates, and music. Megan felt a knot forming in her stomach. The spring dance was a milestone in any teenager's life, but for her, it had always been a painful reminder of her difference. In previous years, she had simply ignored the event, pretending not to care. But this year, something inside her yearned to take part, to be part of that experience. "So," Zoe began, hesitantly, "are you going to the dance this year?" Megan forced a smile. "Oh, you know how it is. It's not really my thing." Zoe frowned, unconvinced. "Meg, I know you. You've always wanted to go, haven't you?" Before Megan could reply, they were interrupted by a male voice. "Hey, girls!" They both turned to see Nathan Reeves approaching. With his tousled blonde hair and bright green eyes, Nathan was the kind of boy who attracted stares wherever he went. But what really made him stand out was his genuine kindness. "What's up, Nate?" Megan greeted, feeling her heart race a little. She and Nathan had been friends for years, but lately, she had noticed subtle changes in how she felt around him. "Have you seen the posters?" Nathan asked, pointing to the prom announcements. "It looks like it's going to be epic this year." Zoe nodded enthusiastically. "Totally. I can't wait to pick out my dress." "What about you, Nate? Do you have a date yet?" Nathan blushed slightly, running his hand through his hair in a nervous gesture. "Actually, I was thinking of inviting someone." Megan's heart leapt. Was it possible that... No, she mentally scolded herself. Nathan probably had dozens of girls wanting to go with him. "Well," Nathan continued, turning to Megan with a shy smile, "I was wondering if you'd like to go to the dance with me, Meg." The world seemed to freeze for a moment. Megan blinked, certain she had heard wrong. "Me? You want to go to the dance? With me?" Nathan nodded, his smile now mixed with a hint of anxiety. "Yeah, I mean, if you want to. I know you've never been before, but I thought maybe, well, we could go together." Megan felt a wave of contradictory emotions. Joy, fear, hope, insecurity, everything mixed in her chest. Part of her wanted to shout, yes, immediately. But another part, that insecure voice that always haunted her, began to raise doubts. I don't know, Nate," she replied hesitantly. "What if I can't dance? What if people stare? I don't want to ruin your evening." Nathan's smile softened, his eyes filling with understanding. He knelt down next to Megan's chair, getting eye level with her. "Meg, you're not going to ruin anything. I want to go with you because you're amazing, funny, and the bravest person I know. And as for the dance, well, we'll manage. Together." Zoe, who was watching the scene with a broad smile, added, "Besides, who says you can't dance? I bet you'd put on a show on that dance floor." Her friend's words warmed Megan's heart. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine what it would be like to be at the ball, dressed elegantly, surrounded by friends, perhaps even dancing in her own way. "All right, she finally said, a genuine smile lighting up her face. "I'd love to go to the dance with you, Nate." Nathan's face lit up with a radiant smile. "Incredible. It's going to be the best night ever. You'll see." As the three friends continued to chat animatedly about their plans for the dance, Megan felt a spark of hope grow in her chest. Maybe, just maybe, this was her chance to show the world, and herself, that her wheelchair didn't define her. That she too deserved to live all the experiences that life as a teenager had to offer. However, as the initial excitement began to settle, a new wave of anxiety washed over Megan. How was she going to prepare for something she had never done before? What if she couldn't fit in? What if... Earth to Megan. Zoe's voice brought her back to reality. "Where did you end up?" Megan shook her head, trying to dispel the negative thoughts. "Sorry, I was just thinking." Nathan looked at her with concern. "Is everything all right? If you've changed your mind?" No, Megan hastened to say. "I really want to go. It's just that, well, I've never done it before. I don't even know where to start." Zoe clapped her hands, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. "That's easy to solve. Operation Best Prom Ever starts now. First, we need to find the perfect dress for you. And I can help with the logistics," Nathan offered. "I'll check about accessibility at the venue, parking, that sort of thing." The support of her friends made Megan smile again. "You guys are the best, you know that." As they walked and wheeled towards the parking lot, the three friends began to make plans. Zoe talked excitedly about dress stores they could visit at the weekend, while Nathan suggested ideas for making the dance more inclusive. Arriving home that afternoon, Megan couldn't stop smiling. She rolled into the kitchen, where her mother, Lisa Foster, was preparing dinner. "Hi, sweetheart. How was school today?" Lisa asked, noticing the sparkle in her daughter's eyes. Megan took a deep breath. "Mom, you won't believe it. I got asked to the spring dance." Lisa's face lit up with surprise and joy. "Oh my God, Meg, this is wonderful. Who asked you?" "Nathan," Megan replied, feeling her cheeks blush slightly. Lisa smiled knowingly. She had always suspected that there was something special between Megan and Nathan. "He's a great guy. I'm so happy for you, darling." As Megan shared the details with her mother, she felt a wave of gratitude. For years, Lisa had been her rock, her unconditional support, encouraging her to never let her condition limit her. "There's just one thing," Megan admitted, her voice becoming more serious. "I'm a bit scared. What if I can't fit in? What if people just stare at me?" Lisa knelt beside Megan's chair, holding her hands. "Megan, my love, you are an amazing, strong, and beautiful young woman. Your chair is just one part of who you are. It's not all you are. People will look at you because they will see how radiant you will be." Her mother's words calmed Megan's nerves a little. "Thanks, Mom. I just want it to be a special night, like it is for everyone." "It will be," Lisa assured her. "We'll make it the most memorable night of your life, starting with finding the perfect dress." The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of preparations. Megan, Zoe, and Lisa spent a whole day looking for the ideal dress. One that not only looked beautiful, but was also practical and comfortable for Megan to wear in her chair. Finally, they found it. A sapphire blue dress that highlighted her eyes, with a cut that flowed gracefully over the wheels of her chair. Nathan, for his part, was determined to make sure everything was perfect. He talked to the organizing committee of the ball, making sure there was adequate space for Megan to maneuver her chair on the dance floor. He even convinced the school to install a small temporary ramp to facilitate access to the stage, in case Megan wanted to get up there at some point during the evening. As the big day approached, Megan oscillated between excitement and nervousness. She practiced makeup with Zoe, rehearsed dance moves with Nathan in their backyard, finding creative ways to spin and move to the music, and had long talks with her mother about confidence and self-acceptance. The day before the dance, as Megan was getting ready for bed, she picked up a photo on her bedside table. It was a picture of her at the age of 7, shortly after the accident that left her paraplegic. In the photo, she was smiling bravely from her new wheelchair, surrounded by her family and friends. Looking at that determined little girl, Megan felt a surge of pride and resolve. She had faced so many challenges since then, overcome so many obstacles. This prom was just another step on her journey. "Tomorrow," she whispered to herself, "I will shine." And with that thought, she fell asleep, dreaming of twinkling lights, soft music, and the feeling of spinning freely under the stars. The day of the spring dance dawned with a surprisingly clear sky for Portland. The rays of sunlight seeping through Megan's bedroom window seemed to be an omen of good things to come. Yet when she opened her eyes, a mixture of excitement and apprehension made her stomach turn. Megan stood up in bed, her strong arms moving her easily to her wheelchair. She spent a few minutes doing her morning exercises, a routine she had developed over the years to maintain her strength and flexibility. As she stretched, her mind wandered to the night ahead. A soft knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "Meg, may I come in?" Her mother's voice sounded from the other side. "Sure, Mom," Megan replied, settling into her chair. Lisa entered, carrying a tray with a special breakfast, pancakes with strawberries, Megan's favorite. "I thought you could use a little extra energy today," she said with a warm smile. Megan smiled back, genuinely touched by the gesture. "Thanks, Mom. That's amazing." As they ate together, Lisa watched her daughter intently. "How are you feeling, dear?" "Anxious." Megan chewed thoughtfully before answering. "A little. Actually, a lot." She paused, putting her fork aside. "What if I make a fool of myself? What if I can't dance like the others?" Lisa reached out, taking Megan's hand firmly. "Meg, remember what we always say? You don't have to do things like everyone else. You do it your way, and that's what makes you special." Her mother's words brought back memories of years of therapy, of learning to navigate the world from a new perspective after the accident. Megan nodded slowly. "I know, it's just, sometimes I wish it were easier." "Easy isn't always the most rewarding," Lisa replied softly. "Look how much you've overcome, how much you've grown. This dance, it's just another step on your incredible journey." Megan's phone vibrated, interrupting the moment. It was a message from Zoe. "Ready to be blown away. I'll be there in an hour." Megan couldn't help but smile. Zoe's contagious energy was exactly what she needed right now. The next few hours passed in a whirlwind of activity. Zoe arrived with a suitcase full of makeup, accessories, and her own dress. The two friends laughed, chatted, and got ready together, with Lisa helping out occasionally. While Zoe worked on Megan's makeup, applying eyeshadow that highlighted her blue eyes, they chatted about their expectations for the evening. "Do you think Nathan will try to kiss you?" Zoe asked with a mischievous smile. Megan blushed intensely. "Zoe, we're just friends." "Oh, come on. I see how you two look at each other. Besides, he asked you to the dance. That means something." Megan hesitated. It was true that her feelings for Nathan had intensified recently, but she had always been afraid to admit it, even to herself. Even if he wanted to, and I'm not saying he does. How would that work? With the chair and everything? Zoe stopped what she was doing and looked straight into Megan's eyes. "Meg, you're amazing. Chair or no chair. If Nathan doesn't see that, he doesn't deserve you. But trust me, he does." Zoe's words warmed Megan's heart. She smiled, feeling a surge of confidence. "Thank you, Zoe. I don't know what I'd do without you." "I'd probably wear blue eyeshadow with that dress, which would be a disaster," Zoe joked, making them both laugh. When they finally finished getting ready, Megan could hardly believe her eyes in the mirror. Her sapphire blue dress fit perfectly, the fabric flowing gracefully over the wheels of her chair. Her hair was tied up in an elegant bun, with a few loose strands framing her face. The makeup, although subtle, highlighted her features in a way that made her feel truly beautiful. "Wow," Zoe whispered, standing next to her. "Meg, you look absolutely stunning." Tears threatened to form in Megan's eyes, but she held them back, not wanting to ruin her makeup. "You look amazing too, Zoe," she replied, admiring her friend's emerald green dress. A horn sounded from outside. "That must be Nathan," Megan said, feeling her heart race. Lisa entered the room, her eyes filling with tears at the sight of her daughter. "Oh, Megan, you look beautiful, my love." The three of them went downstairs, Megan using the elevator that had been installed years ago. When they reached the front door, Megan paused, taking a deep breath. "I'm ready," she said, more to herself than to the others. Nathan was standing next to a retrofitted van, wearing a navy blue suit that matched Megan's dress perfectly. When he saw her, his eyes widened and a broad smile spread across his face. "Meg," he said softly, stepping closer. "You look... wow, just wow." Megan felt her cheeks heat up. "You look very handsome too, Nate." Nathan leaned over, handing Megan a corsage of white orchids. Carefully, he attached it to her wrist. The gentle touch of his fingers made Megan's heart flutter. After a series of photos, Lisa's insistence, they were finally ready to leave. Nathan helped Megan into the van, making sure she was comfortable and safe. As they drove away, Megan looked out of the window, seeing her mother waving with a proud smile. A wave of emotion hit her. Gratitude for her family, her friends, for this opportunity to experience a night she thought she'd never have. The drive to school was full of laughter and lively conversation. Zoe couldn't stop talking about all the songs she wanted to dance to, while Nathan shared some news about the adaptations the school had made for the evening. "They've installed a small raised platform near the dance floor," Nathan explained. "That way, if you want, we can stand up there and have a better view of everything." Megan was touched by the effort everyone had made to include her. "That's amazing, Nate. Thanks for thinking of all this." When they arrived at the school, the parking lot was full of limousines and decorated cars. For a moment, Megan felt a twinge of insecurity as she saw other couples getting out of their vehicles, the girls in their flowing dresses walking arm in arm with their dates. As if sensing her hesitation, Nathan turned to her. "Hey, is everything okay? We can wait a bit if you want." Megan looked at him, seeing the genuine concern in his eyes. At that moment, she made a decision. Tonight wouldn't be about her limitations or fears. It would be about possibilities and joy. "No," she replied with a determined smile. "Let's do this. I'm ready to dance." Nathan smiled back, his eyes shining with admiration. "Then let's go, my lady. The ball awaits." With Zoe on one side and Nathan on the other, Megan began to roll towards the school entrance. She could feel a few curious stares, but for the first time, she didn't care. She was here, beautiful and confident, ready to live every moment of tonight. As they walked through the doors of the transformed gymnasium, they were greeted by a sea of twinkling lights, pulsating music, and the sight of dozens of their classmates dancing and having fun. Megan felt her heart fill with excitement and anticipation. Tonight, she promised herself, she wouldn't just be a spectator, she would be part of it all, and nothing, not even her wheelchair, would stop her from enjoying every second of it. Nathan leaned over, whispering in her ear over the music. "Ready to show them how to really dance?" Megan looked at him, a radiant smile lighting up her face. "More than ready. Let's go." And with that, they took to the dance floor, ready to create memories that would last a lifetime. The Lincoln High School gymnasium was unrecognizable. Blue and silver silk curtains hung from the ceiling, creating the illusion of a starry sky. Silver balloons floated lazily above the students' heads, and a giant mirror ball rotated slowly in the center, casting shards of light everywhere. The Starry Night theme had been taken seriously, transforming the normally austere space into a modern fairy tale setting. Megan felt her heart race as she entered the hall. The music pulsed through the floor, and she could feel the vibrations in her hands as she gripped the wheels of her chair. For a moment, she stood paralyzed, taking it all in. The lights, the sounds, the smiling faces of her colleagues. Nathan leaned over, speaking close enough to her ear to be heard above the music. "What do you think? Amazing, isn't it?" Megan nodded, a broad smile spreading across her face. "It's more than I could have imagined." Zoe, who was standing next to them, started swaying to the rhythm of the music. "Come on, guys, we didn't come here to stand still." With a laugh, Nathan started pushing Megan's chair towards the dance floor. On the way, several of his classmates greeted them, complimenting their outfits and expressing surprise and joy at seeing Megan there. "Meg, you look amazing," exclaimed Amber, a girl from her literature class. "Man, that dress is awesome," commented Jason, one of the school's basketball players. Every greeting, every genuine smile, made Megan's heart expand a little more. She began to feel less like an intruder and more like an integral part of the celebration. When they reached the edge of the dance floor, however, Megan felt a twinge of hesitation. How was she going to dance? They had practiced a few moves at home, but here, in the middle of everyone. Nathan seemed to sense her apprehension. He knelt down next to her chair, getting eye level with her. "Hey, remember what we practiced? We don't have to do anything elaborate. Let's just feel the music and have fun, okay?" Megan looked into Nathan's sincere green eyes and felt her confidence renewed. "Okay," she replied with a small smile. Nathan stood up and started dancing next to Megan's chair. His movements were simple, but full of enthusiasm. Zoe joined in, twirling and laughing. Slowly, Megan began to move. She spun her wheels to the rhythm of the music, making small circles. Then, remembering what they had practiced, she tilted her chair back, lifting the front wheels off the ground for a moment, before returning to the normal position. It was a movement that always made her feel powerful, as if she were defying gravity. Nathan let out a cry of approval. "That's it, Meg! You're killing it!" Encouraged, Megan began to loosen up. She spun around, zigzagged, and even used her arms to create fluid movements to accompany the music. Nathan and Zoe danced around her, sometimes holding her hands and spinning with her. As the minutes passed, Megan realized that more and more people were watching. But to her surprise, they weren't looks of pity or uncomfortable curiosity. They were expressions of admiration and even inspiration. A girl Megan recognized from her chemistry class approached shyly. "Meg, I wanted to say that you're an amazing dancer. I never thought... it's really nice to see you here, having fun like this." Megan felt a warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you. Would you like to join us?" The girl nodded enthusiastically, and soon a few more classmates joined the group. The small circle around Megan grew, with everyone dancing together, laughing and having fun. At a particularly lively moment in the song, Nathan grabbed Megan's hands and started spinning with her. The chair slid smoothly across the polished floor, and Megan threw her head back, laughing with pure joy. It was like flying. When the music changed to a slower ballad, Nathan stopped spinning, but didn't let go of Megan's hands. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world around them seemed to fade away. "Can I have this dance?" Nathan asked softly, a slight blush tinging his cheeks. Megan felt her heart pound. "Of course," she replied, her voice almost a whisper. Nathan began to rock gently, moving Megan's chair in a slow, circular motion. He leaned in a little, allowing their faces to come closer together. Megan could feel the warmth of his breath, see every freckle on his nose. "You look beautiful tonight, Meg," Nathan said, his voice low and sincere. "Actually, you look beautiful every night, but tonight, you look radiant." Megan felt her cheeks heat up. "Thank you, Nate. You look very handsome, too." They continued to dance, lost in their own world. Megan barely noticed the other couples around them. All that mattered was the warmth of Nathan's hands in hers, the sparkle in his eyes, the softness of his smile. As the song came to an end, Nathan leaned in even closer. For a moment, Megan thought he was going to kiss her. Her heart raced, a mixture of excitement and nervousness taking hold of her. But then a scream cut through the air. "Look out!" It all happened in a split second. A couple dancing next to them tripped, falling towards Megan. Nathan, acting on instinct, pulled Megan's chair back sharply, avoiding a collision. However, the sudden movement caused the rear wheel of Megan's chair to hit the step of the small platform that had been installed for her. The chair tilted dangerously. For a terrifying moment, Megan felt like she was going to fall. Flashbacks of the accident that left her paraplegic flooded her mind. Panic overwhelmed her, but then strong hands held her up. Nathan had moved quickly, stabilizing the chair and preventing the fall. Zoe was also there in an instant, helping to right the chair. "Meg, are you all right?" Nathan's voice was full of concern. Megan took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart. I think so," she replied, her voice trembling. The couple who had stumbled approached, profusely apologizing. Other students crowded around, asking if she was all right, offering help. The music stopped, and suddenly all eyes were on them. Megan felt the weight of the stares, the hint of pity in some expressions, the shock in others. All the progress she felt she had made, all the confidence she had built up over the course of the evening, seemed to be crumbling. Maybe this was a mistake," Megan muttered, more to herself than to the others. "I shouldn't have come." Nathan knelt down beside her again, his eyes searching hers. "Meg, don't say that. It was an accident. It could have happened to anyone." But Megan barely heard him. The shame and fear she had fought so hard to overcome were coming back in full force. "I want to leave," she said, her voice almost inaudible. Before Nathan or Zoe could respond, Megan spun her chair around and began to walk quickly towards the exit. Tears threatened to fall from her eyes, but she held them back, determined not to give anyone more reason to look at her with pity. As she headed out of the gym, Megan could hear Nathan and Zoe calling out to her, but she didn't stop. All she wanted at that moment was to run away, to escape the stares, the voices, the memory of how everything could have gone so wrong in an instant. When she reached the empty corridor outside the gym, Megan finally stopped, allowing the tears to fall. The muffled sound of music could still be heard, a cruel reminder of the night that should have been perfect. She closed her eyes, trying to regain control of her emotions. But all she could think was, "What do I do now?" The corridor was silent, except for the muffled sound of music coming from the gym and Megan's soft sobs. The fluorescent lights flickered occasionally, casting restless shadows on the walls decorated with school posters and trophies in display cases. Megan wiped away tears with the back of her hand, smearing the makeup carefully applied by Zoe hours before. She looked at her distorted reflection in one of the shop windows. The elaborate hairstyle was now undone, strands of hair falling over her face, the sapphire blue dress crumpled. The image seemed a cruel metaphor for how she felt inside, disheveled, out of place, broken. The sound of hurried footsteps echoed down the corridor. Megan didn't have to turn around to see who it was. "Meg!" Nathan's voice was filled with concern. He approached, panting, closely followed by Zoe. "Are you all right? We were so worried." Megan didn't answer immediately. How could she explain the whirlwind of emotions that consumed her? The shame, the fear, the anger, not just at the incident, but at everything it represented. I just want to go home," she finally muttered, without looking at them. Zoe knelt beside Megan's chair, placing a hand gently on hers. "Meg, it was just an accident. No one's thinking badly of you, I promise." But Zoe's words of comfort seemed distant, almost unreal to Megan at that moment. In her mind, she was no longer in the school corridor. She was back on that fateful day, 6 years ago, when her life changed forever. The sun was shining brightly over Portland's city park. Megan, just 10 years old, was running happily towards the swings, her brown hair fluttering behind her. She had always loved the sensation of flying that the swings provided. "Careful, Megan!" her mother shouted from a nearby bench, but the warning was lost in the wind and the laughter of the other children. Megan jumped onto the moving swing, something she had done dozens of times before, but this time, something went wrong. Her fingers slipped off the chain, and for a terrible moment, she was in the air, falling. The impact was brutal. Pain exploded in her back, and a high-pitched scream cut through the air of the park. The world around her became hazy, worried voices blending into an indistinct hum. "Megan! Oh my God, Megan!" Her mother's desperate voice was the last thing she heard before darkness enveloped her. Meg, can you hear me?" Nathan's voice brought her back to the present. He was kneeling in front of her now, his green eyes full of concern. Megan blinked, trying to push the memories away. I'm sorry. I I was just thinking. What? Nathan asked softly. Megan hesitated for a moment, but something in Nathan's expression, the genuine concern, the patience, made her want to open up. The day of the accident, she replied, her voice almost a whisper. Sometimes when something like that happens, it's like I'm there again. Falling. Losing control. Nathan and Zoe exchanged glances, understanding dawning on their faces. Oh, Meg, Zoe said, her voice full of emotion. I'm so sorry. We didn't even think. It's not your fault, Megan interrupted, shaking her head. It's just that, for a moment in there, I felt normal again, as if the chair didn't matter. And then you were reminded of it in the worst possible way, Nathan added softly. Megan nodded, feeling new tears forming. I thought I was ready for this, to be like everyone else, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe I can never really be a part of it all. A heavy silence fell over the trio. The distant sound of the music seemed to mock them, a reminder of the joy that now seemed so far out of reach. It was Nathan who finally broke the silence. Meg, can I tell you something? Megan looked at him, curious despite her sadness. Remember when we first met, on the first day of school after your accident? I was so nervous, I didn't know what to say, how to act. I was afraid of offending you or doing something wrong. Megan remembered. She had been so focused on her own fear and insecurity that day that she had barely noticed the others' discomfort. Nathan continued, but then you smiled at me and said, Hey, do you have an extra pen? I forgot mine at home. It was so normal. At that moment, I realized that you were just Megan. The same smart, funny girl I'd always known, only sitting instead of standing. Zoe agreed enthusiastically. It's true. Meg, you've always been the strong one in our group. Remember when you taught us to do tricks with your chair? Or when you led our science project even with all the difficulties in accessing the lab? Her friend's words began to penetrate the fog of self-doubt that had enveloped Megan. Memories of moments of strength, of overcoming, of joy despite the difficulties began to surface in her mind. You don't understand, Megan said, but her voice was less firm now. It's different for you. You don't have to think about every move, every obstacle. Maybe not, Nathan agreed. But Meg, no one has a life without obstacles. Yours may be more visible, more physical, but we all struggle with something. What makes you special is how you face your challenges. With grace, with courage, with a smile that lights up the room. Zoe took Megan's hands in hers. What about those people inside? They weren't looking at you with pity, Meg. They were worried because they care about you, because you're part of this place, this community. Her friend's words were like a balm to Megan's wounded heart. Slowly, she felt the shame and fear begin to dissipate, replaced by a wave of gratitude and a faint sense of hope. I don't know what to say, Megan admitted, her voice choked with emotion. Nathan smiled gently. You don't have to say anything. Just don't give up, okay? Don't let one bad moment erase all the good ones. Zoe nodded vigorously. Exactly. And hey, the night isn't over yet. We still have time to create some more incredible moments. What do you say? Megan looked at her friends, feeling a wave of affection for them. They were there, in the cold, dimly lit hallway, instead of enjoying the dance, all because of her. And she suddenly realized that she didn't want to disappoint them. She didn't want to let herself down. With a deep sigh, Megan straightened her shoulders and adjusted her posture in the chair. Okay, she said, a small smile beginning to form on her lips. Let's go back there. Nathan's face lit up with a radiant smile. That's the Megan I know, Zoe squealed with delight and stood up, already starting to fix Megan's hair. Good, because I haven't had a chance to show off my dance moves to that cute guy from chemistry class yet. The three of them laughed together, the tension of the previous moments dissipating like mist under the morning sun. As they prepared to return to the gym, Megan looked at Nathan. There was something in his eyes, a mixture of admiration and something deeper, that made her heart race. Nate, she said softly, thank you for everything. Nathan smiled, a slight blush tinging his cheeks. Always. Meg. Always. And with that, they headed back to the dance. Megan didn't know exactly what awaited her inside, but she did know one thing. With friends like these by her side, she could face anything. The sound of the music grew louder as they approached the gymnasium doors. Megan took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of nervousness and determination. She looked at Nathan and Zoe, who gave her encouraging smiles. "Ready?" Nathan asked, his hand resting gently on hers on the wheel of the chair. Megan nodded. "Ready?" And together, they opened the doors, ready to face whatever the night had in store for them. The doors to the gym opened, and Megan felt a wave of anxiety wash over her. The sound of the music immediately enveloped her, the flashing lights creating a kaleidoscope of colors that danced across the floor and walls. For a moment, she hesitated, her fingers tightening on the wheels of her chair. Nathan must have sensed her tension, because he leaned over, speaking softly in her ear. "Hey, remember what we agreed? One step at a time. We're here with you." Megan nodded, taking a deep breath. She looked at Zoe, who gave her an encouraging smile, and then at Nathan, whose eyes were full of confidence and something else she couldn't quite pin down. As they advanced into the gym, Megan noticed that a few heads turned in their direction, but to her surprise, there was no pity or discomfort in the look she received. Instead, she saw welcoming smiles and even a few nods. Amber, the girl from his literature class, was the first to approach. "Meg, I'm so glad you're back. We were worried." "Is everything all right?" asked Jason, the basketball player, joining the group. "That was quite a scare." Megan felt a lump form in her throat at the genuine concern of her colleagues. "I'm fine," she replied, her voice firmer than she had expected. "It was just a minor setback. Thank you for caring." "Good." Amber smiled. "Because, seriously, you were killing it on the dance floor before. I've never seen anyone dance like that." Jason agreed enthusiastically. "Totally. It was like, you know when break dancers do those spins on the floor? You did something similar, only much smoother. It was amazing." Megan felt her cheeks heat up at the unexpected praise. She looked at Nathan and Zoe, who were smiling proudly beside her. "Well," Megan said, a shy smile forming on her lips, "I guess I still have a few moves to show then." "That's how you say it," Zoe exclaimed, already starting to move to the beat of the music. "Come on, guys. This dance floor isn't going to shake itself." The small group headed for the center of the dance floor. Megan noticed that the people around her naturally made room, not to isolate her, but to give her the space she needed to move freely. The music was lively, with an infectious rhythm that made it impossible to stand still. Zoe immediately started dancing with abandon, her movements wild and full of joy. Nathan, on the other hand, danced with an enthusiasm that made up for his lack of coordination, drawing laughter from everyone around him. Megan closed her eyes for a moment, letting the music flow through her. Then, with a determined smile, she began to move. Her hands slid along the wheels with precision, creating circular patterns on the floor. She leaned back and forth, swaying to the rhythm of the music. As she gained confidence, Megan began to incorporate some of the movements she and Nathan had practiced at home. She spun around quickly, making her chair spin in a perfect circle. Then, with a bold move, she swiveled her chair, keeping the front wheels in the air for several seconds as she continued to move. The students around her began to applaud and shout encouragement. Megan could hear exclamations of "wow" and "incredible" coming from all directions. The energy was contagious, and soon she found herself in the center of a circle of dancers, all moving in sync with her. Nathan approached, holding out his hand. "May I have this dance, milady?" Megan laughed, taking his hand. "Of course. Good sir." With one fluid movement, Nathan began to spin with Megan's chair, creating a swirling effect that made everyone around make room, watching in amazement. Megan threw her head back, laughing with pure joy. It was like flying, like being free. When the music changed to a slower ballad, Megan felt a twinge of uncertainty. Couples began to form around them, hugging and swaying gently. Nathan, still holding her hand, looked at her with a silent question in his eyes. Megan nodded, feeling her heart race. Gently, Nathan moved closer, putting one hand on Megan's waist while holding the other. They began to move slowly, Nathan guiding the chair in smooth, circular movements. "That's different," Megan commented, a little out of breath. Nathan smiled. "Different good or different bad?" "Definitely good," she replied, returning his smile. As they danced, Megan noticed how Nathan's eyes never left hers. There was an intensity in his gaze that made her stomach turn in a way that had nothing to do with the movement of the dance. "You know," Nathan began, his voice low and a little hesitant, "there's something I've been wanting to tell you for a while." Megan felt her heart skip a beat. "What?" Nathan took a deep breath, as if gathering his courage. "Meg, I really like you. Not just as a friend. I think I'm in love with you." The world seemed to stop for a moment. Megan looked at Nathan, seeing the vulnerability and hope in his eyes. All the little interactions, the glances, the casual touches over the years suddenly took on a new meaning. "Nate, Megan began, her voice trembling slightly. "I like you too, a lot. But, are you sure? With me, with the chair, it wouldn't be easy." Nathan stopped dancing, holding Megan's hands tightly. "Meg, I didn't fall in love with a chair. I fell in love with you. Your strength, your determination, your smile that lights up any room. The chair, it's just part of who you are, just as my green eyes are part of who I am." Megan felt tears forming in her eyes, but this time, they were tears of happiness. "Nate, wow. I don't even know what to say." A shy smile spread across Nathan's face. "How about, I like you too, Nate. Let's give this a chance." Megan laughed, feeling a wave of joy and hope wash over her. "Okay, then. I like you too, Nate. Let's give it a chance." Nathan's smile widened, lighting up his whole face. Slowly, he leaned in, his eyes never leaving hers. Megan felt her heart speed up as the distance between them decreased. And then, under the twinkling lights and soft music, their lips met in a sweet, tender kiss. It was a moment of pure magic, as if the rest of the world had disappeared, leaving just the two of them. When they finally broke apart, Megan saw Zoe not far away, jumping for joy and making positive signs. She couldn't help laughing at her friend's excitement. "I think we have a crowd," she commented, indicating Zoe with a nod. Nathan laughed, his cheeks slightly flushed. "Well, she's probably been waiting for this as long as we have." The music changed again, returning to a more upbeat tempo. Megan looked around, seeing her colleagues dancing, laughing, enjoying the evening. For the first time, she didn't feel like an intruder or a curiosity. She was just another teenager, experiencing a magical moment at her prom. "So," Nathan said, a mischievous glint in his eyes, "ready to show them how to really dance?" Megan smiled, feeling lighter and more confident than she had ever felt before. "We were born ready, partner." And with that, they returned to the dance floor, moving together as if they'd been doing it all their lives. Megan spun and twirled, with Nathan dancing beside her, occasionally holding her hands for a synchronized move. As the evening progressed, Megan found herself surrounded not only by Nathan and Zoe, but by several of her colleagues. Some asked to dance with her. Others wanted to learn some of her moves. She taught one group how to do the chair spin, laughing when they tried to imitate the movement while sitting on the floor. In a particularly animated moment, Jason, the basketball player, had an idea. "Hey, Meg!" he shouted over the music. "How about we lift you up? Like, lift you up on our shoulders. Only on a chair." Megan hesitated for a moment, the memory of the previous incident flashing through her mind. But then she looked at Nathan, who nodded encouragingly, and at Zoe, who was jumping up and down with excitement. "You know what?" Megan said, a broad smile spreading across her face. "Let's do it." With care and a lot of coordination, Jason, Nathan, and a few other strong boys lifted Megan's chair, raising it above their heads. The surrounding crowd erupted in applause and shouts of support. From up there, Megan could see the whole gym. The lights, the decorations, the smiling faces of her colleagues. She raised her arms, feeling like a queen waving to her subjects. For a moment, she wasn't the girl in the wheelchair. She was simply Megan, the star of the ball. When they brought her back to the floor, Megan was panting and radiant with happiness. Nathan was immediately by her side, his eyes shining with pride and love. "That was amazing," he exclaimed. "You're amazing, Meg." Megan took his hand, feeling truly happy and at peace with herself. "We are amazing," she corrected softly. As the evening drew to a close, Megan found herself surrounded by friends, both old and new. She exchanged phone numbers, made plans for future outings, and received more hugs than she could count. When it was finally time to leave, Megan looked back one last time, observing the gym that had been the scene of so many emotions in a single night. "Was it worth coming?" Nathan asked softly as he pushed his chair towards the exit. Megan smiled, taking his hand and intertwining their fingers. "Every second," she replied. As they walked out into the cool Portland night, Megan felt that something fundamental had changed inside her. She had faced her fears, overcome obstacles, and, in the process, discovered a strength she didn't even know she possessed. The sky was clear and the stars shone brightly above them. Megan looked up, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for everything that had happened. "You know," she said, her voice soft but full of emotion, "I think this was just the first of many magical nights we'll have together." Nathan leaned over, kissing her softly on the forehead. "I can't wait for every one of them." And with that, they set off for home, leaving behind the gym full of memories and taking with them the promise of a bright future, full of possibilities and love. The morning after prom dawned with a clear, sunny sky over Portland. Megan woke up slowly, the events of the night before returning to her mind like a vivid dream. For a moment, she lay there, staring at the ceiling of her room, a smile spreading across her face as the memories solidified. The soft sound of a notification on her cell phone brought her back to the present. Stretching, Megan picked up the device and saw that she had dozens of new messages and notifications on her social networks. Curious, she began to browse through them. The first thing that caught her eye was a series of prom photos that had been shared in the school group. There she was, at the center of several images, dancing with Nathan, surrounded by a circle of admiring friends, and even the moment she was lifted above the crowd in her chair. The comments under the photos made her choke up with emotion. "Megan rocked it yesterday. Best dancer of the night, without a doubt. Who says wheelchairs and dancing don't go together?" Megan proved otherwise. Tears of happiness formed in the corners of her eyes as she continued to read. There were messages from people she barely knew, praising her courage and skill. Some even asked if she would give dance lessons. One message in particular made her heart leap. "Good morning, prom star. I hope you slept well. Can't wait to see you today. Nathan." Megan felt her cheeks flush as she read the message. The events of the night before, the kiss, the confession of feelings, still seemed surreal. Deciding it was time to start the day, Megan deftly transferred herself to her chair. As she headed for the kitchen, she could hear excited voices. As she entered, she found her mother, Lisa, chatting excitedly on the phone. "Yes, it was amazing. You should have seen it. Oh, she's just woken up. I'll put her on. Megan, darling, it's Grandma. She wants to talk to you." Megan picked up the phone, smiling as she heard her grandmother's excited voice. "Megan, my love, your mother was just telling me about the ball. It sounds like it was magical." "It was amazing, Grandma," Megan replied, feeling warmed by her grandmother's enthusiasm. "I danced, made new friends, and, well, it was a night I'll never forget." "I'm so proud of you, darling." Her grandmother's voice was laced with emotion. "You've always been strong, but last night, you showed the whole world just how incredible you are." After hanging up, Megan turned to her mother, who was watching her with a knowing smile. "So," Lisa began, placing a cup of coffee in front of Megan, "is there anything else you want to tell me about last night? Maybe about a certain green-eyed boy?" Megan felt her cheeks heat up again. "Mom, how did you—" Lisa laughed. "Darling, I'm your mother.
I've seen how you two look at each other for years. So, did you two finally talk?" With a sigh of defeat, but a smile on her face, Megan told her mother about the moment she shared with Nathan, the kiss, and how it made her feel. Lisa listened attentively, her eyes shining with happiness for her daughter. When Megan had finished, she leaned over and hugged her tightly. "Oh, honey, I'm so happy for you."
Nathan is a wonderful boy. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of phone calls, messages, and preparations. Megan had arranged to meet Zoe and Nathan in the park near the school. As she got ready, she found herself looking at her reflection in the mirror with a new eye. She no longer saw limitations or differences, but strength, beauty, and possibilities. When she reached the park, Megan spotted Zoe and Nathan sitting on a bench by the lake. At the sight of her, both their faces lit up. "Meg!" Zoe shouted, running to hug her. "My star! You're everywhere on social media. You know that?" Nathan approached more calmly, but his eyes shone with admiration. He leaned over and gave Megan a soft kiss on the cheek. "Hi," he said simply. But the tone of his voice carried all the affection in the world. The three friends spent the next few hours reminiscing about the events of the night before, laughing at the funny stories and sharing their favorite parts. "You know," Zoe said thoughtfully, "I think last night changed a lot of things at school. People saw you in a different light, Meg." Nathan agreed. "It's true. I heard some guys from the basketball team talking about how impressed they were with your dance moves." Megan absorbed this information, feeling a mixture of pride and responsibility. Do you think I could use this in some way to help other people like me?" Zoe clapped her hands enthusiastically. "Oh my God, yes, you could give dance lessons to people in wheelchairs, or make YouTube videos showing how to be amazing and confident. Or," Nathan added, taking Megan's hand, "you could speak at schools, inspire other people to overcome their own challenges." Megan's mind whirled with possibilities. For the first time, she saw her condition not as a limitation, but as a platform, an opportunity to make a difference. "You know," she said slowly, a smile forming on her lips, "I think you might be right. Maybe I really can do something with this." The rest of the afternoon was spent drawing up ideas and plans. Megan talked about creating a blog to share her experiences. Zoe suggested organizing inclusive dance events, and Nathan offered to help contact the school administration about motivational talks. As the sun began to set, painting the Portland sky in shades of orange and pink, the three friends found themselves sitting by the lake, reflecting on how their lives had changed in just 24 hours. "If someone had told me a week ago that I would be here now, planning to change the world," Megan laughed softly, "I would have thought it was crazy." Nathan squeezed her hand affectionately. "But that's exactly what you've always done, Meg. Since the day I met you, you've changed the world. My world, at least." Zoe made an exaggerated awe sound, making the three of them laugh. As they watched the sunset, Megan felt a deep sense of peace and purpose. The dance had been more than just a night of fun. It had been a turning point, a catalyst for something bigger. "You know what?" she said, looking at her two best friends. "I think we're about to embark on a new adventure together." Zoe smiled broadly. "And what adventure will that be?" Megan looked at the horizon, her eyes shining with determination and hope. "The adventure of showing the world that there are no limits to what we can achieve, no matter what our challenges." Nathan and Zoe nodded in agreement, and the three friends stood there, watching the sun go down, ready to face whatever the future held together. That night, lying in her bed, Megan reflected on everything that had happened. The fear and insecurity she had felt before the dance seemed distant now, as if they belonged to someone else. She picked up her diary, a gift from her grandmother that she rarely used, and began to write, "Dear Diary, last night I danced, not just with my body, but with my soul. For the first time in a long time, I felt truly free, truly myself. But more than that, last night I discovered a truth that had perhaps always been there, waiting to be recognized. Our limitations only exist in our minds. I had spent so long seeing myself as the girl in the wheelchair, letting that define me, limit me. But yesterday, on the dance floor, surrounded by friends and strangers who saw me simply as Megan, I realized that I am so much more than my chair. I'm a dancer, a friend, a daughter, a girlfriend. It's still weird to think about. And now, I realize that I can also be an inspiration, a voice for those who may not have found theirs yet. The future looks bright and full of possibilities. I don't know exactly what it holds, but I know I'll be facing it head-on with Nathan and Zoe by my side. Today is the first day of the rest of my life, and I can't wait to see where this journey takes me. Megan closed her diary, a feeling of anticipation and excitement taking over her. Tomorrow would be a new day, the first of many on her new journey, and she was more than ready to face it. With a smile on her face and her heart full of hope, Megan fell asleep, dreaming of the endless possibilities that the future held. The weeks following the spring dance were a whirlwind of activity for Megan. The energy and determination that had been born on that magical night did not diminish. On the contrary, they seemed to grow every day. With Zoe's help, Megan created a blog called Wheels of Possibility. At first, she mainly shared her personal experiences, the challenges of navigating a city that is not always accessible, the moments of frustration, but also the small daily victories. To her surprise, the blog quickly gained followers, not just from Portland, but from all over the country. "Meg, you have to see this," Zoe exclaimed one day, while they were in the school library during break. She flipped open her laptop, showing Megan the comments on her most recent post. Megan read it, her eyes widening. "Your story inspired me to start dancing again. Thank you for showing me it's possible. I never thought I'd see someone like me represented in such a positive light. You're amazing. My daughter uses a wheelchair and has always wanted to dance. Thanks to you, now I know I can encourage her to follow that dream." Tears formed in Megan's eyes. "Wow," she whispered. "I had no idea I could impact so many people like that." Nathan, who was sitting next to them, placed his hand on Megan's. "You've always had this power inside you, Meg. Now the whole world is seeing what we've always seen." Encouraged by the positive feedback, Megan decided to take the next step. With Nathan's help, she arranged a meeting with Principal Simmons to discuss the possibility of giving a motivational talk at the school. On the day of the meeting, Megan felt butterflies in her stomach as she made her way to the principal's office. Nathan was waiting outside, giving her an encouraging smile before she entered. "Megan, how nice to see you." Principal Simmons greeted her warmly. "I've heard a lot of good things about your performance at the dance. What can I do for you today?" Taking a deep breath, Megan presented her idea. She talked about the impact the dance had not only on her, but on the whole school. She explained how she wanted to use this experience to inspire other students to overcome their own challenges and to see differences as strengths, not weaknesses. Principal Simmons listened intently, her face lighting up with growing interest. When Megan finished, she smiled broadly. "Megan, this is exactly the kind of initiative our school needs. Not only do I approve of your idea, but I'd like to expand it. How about we organize a Diversity and Inclusion Awareness Week, with you as our keynote speaker?" Megan was stunned, taken aback by the enthusiastic response. "Really? That would be amazing." Over the next few weeks, Megan worked tirelessly to prepare her talk and help organize the Awareness Week events. She spent hours researching, writing, and rehearsing, determined to make a difference. The big day finally arrived. The auditorium at Lincoln High School was packed, not only with students, but also with parents, teachers, and even some local reporters who had heard about the initiative. Backstage, Megan could feel her heart pounding. Nathan was by her side, holding her hand. "You're going to rock," he said softly, leaning in to give her a quick kiss. "Remember, you've already conquered the hardest part. It's just sharing your truth." Zoe appeared, carrying a bouquet of flowers. "To the star of the evening," she said, handing it to Megan with a hug. When Principal Simmons introduced her, Megan took a deep breath and rolled onto the stage. The silence that fell over the auditorium was palpable. "Good afternoon, everyone," Megan began, her voice initially shaky, but gaining strength with each word. "My name is Megan Foster, and I'm here to talk about possibilities. about seeing beyond the limitations that the world, or we ourselves, try to impose on us. As she spoke, sharing her journey from the accident to the spring dance and beyond, Megan could see the impact of her words on the faces of the audience. There were tears, smiles, and, above all, a palpable sense of inspiration. Each of us faces challenges, she concluded, her voice full of emotion. But it's these challenges that shape us, that make us who we are. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something, because, believe me, if I can dance, you can do anything. The ovation that followed was deafening. Students stood up, cheering and shouting. Megan saw familiar faces in the crowd, her parents, with tears in their eyes and proud smiles, her classmates, many of whom she had barely known before, but who now looked at her with admiration. In the days following the lecture, Megan noticed a change in the school's atmosphere. Students she had never noticed before came to talk to her, sharing their own stories of overcoming. The school dance club invited her to be a consultant for a new inclusive dance program. Even the student council approached her to discuss ways of making school events more accessible. But perhaps the most significant change was in herself. Megan found herself facing each day with a new confidence, a new sense of her own worth and potential. A month after the Awareness Week, Megan received an email that would change everything. It was from a large nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting the inclusion of people with disabilities. "Dear Megan," she read aloud to Nathan and Zoe, who were gathered in her room. "We were impressed by your speech and the impact you've had on your community. We'd like to invite you to be a speaker at our national conference on inclusion and accessibility in Chicago next month." "Oh my God, Meg!" Zoe shouted, jumping up and down with excitement. "That's huge!" Nathan hugged Megan, his face beaming with pride. "I knew you'd go far, but this is incredible." Megan was silent for a moment, absorbing the magnitude of the opportunity. It was more than she could ever have imagined when she decided to go to prom a few months ago. Do you think I should accept?" she asked, a mixture of excitement and nervousness in her voice. "Accept?" Zoe exclaimed. "Meg, you have to accept. Think of how many people you can inspire." Nathan nodded in agreement. "Zoe is right, but in the end, the decision is yours. What does your heart say?" Megan closed her eyes for a moment, letting the feeling of possibility wash over her. When she opened them again, there was a burning determination in her gaze. "My heart says it's time to take this message beyond Portland," she said, a smile spreading across her face. "It's time to show the world that wheels aren't limits. They're just a different way of moving through life." That night, as Megan prepared for bed, she reflected on how far she had come and how far she could still go. The future was opening up before her, full of promise and possibility. She picked up her diary once more and wrote, "Dear Diary, today, I realize that my journey has only just begun. What began as a night of dancing has turned into a life mission. Every turn of my wheels now leads not only to me, but to a message of hope and possibility. I don't know exactly what the future holds, but I do know this. As long as I have a voice, I will use it to uplift others. As long as I have strength, I will fight for a more inclusive world. And as long as I have wheels, I will dance through every obstacle that life throws my way. Because now I know for sure that it's not our limitations that define us, but how we choose to overcome them. Tomorrow, I start preparing for Chicago. And then what? Well, the sky's the limit." Megan closed the diary, a serene smile on her face. As she switched off the light, she felt a wave of gratitude for everything and everyone that had brought her here. And, more importantly, a palpable excitement for what was to come. The world was waiting, and Megan Foster was ready to make her mark. Chicago O'Hare Airport was buzzing with activity when Megan, accompanied by her parents Nathan and Zoe, arrived for the National Conference on Inclusion and Accessibility. As they navigated the busy terminal, Megan couldn't help but notice the curious looks and occasional smiles of recognition she received. "I think someone here is a celebrity," Zoe whispered, poking Megan playfully. Megan blushed slightly. In the weeks leading up to the conference, her blog, Wheels of Possibility, had exploded in popularity. Her story had been shared on various social media platforms, and she had even given a few interviews to local newspapers and radio programs. "I still can't believe we're actually here," Megan said, a mixture of nervousness and excitement in her voice. Nathan leaned in, giving her a soft kiss on the cheek. "Believe me, Meg, you deserve every second of this." When they arrived at the hotel hosting the conference, Megan was immediately surrounded by event organizers and other speakers. Many already knew her from her blog and were eager to meet her in person. Megan Foster, a middle-aged woman in an electric wheelchair, approached, a warm smile on her face. "I'm Dr. Elaine Winters, one of the main organizers. You don't know how happy we are to have you here." Megan smiled, holding out her hand to greet her. "Dr. Winters, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for this incredible opportunity." The next few hours were a whirlwind of introductions, orientations, and final preparations for her talk. Megan absorbed everything eagerly, marveling at the diversity of people and stories she encountered at every turn. On the morning of her presentation, Megan woke up early, her stomach a knot of nerves and excitement. She rolled down the window of her hotel room, watching the sun rise over the Chicago skyline. For a moment, she allowed herself to reflect on how far she had come since that night at the spring dance. A soft knock on the door brought her back to the present. It was Nathan, Zoe, and her parents, all ready to support her in her big moment. "Ready to shine, Star?" Zoe asked, helping Megan with the final touches to her hair and makeup. Megan took a deep breath, looking at the people she loved most in the world. "With you by my side, always." The auditorium was packed when Megan took to the stage. Hundreds of faces stared back at her, some in wheelchairs like her, others with different types of disabilities, and many with no apparent disabilities at all united by the desire for a more inclusive world. As Megan began to speak, sharing her journey from the accident to the present day, she felt a wave of confidence wash over her. Her voice, once shaky, now rang clear and strong through the hall. Every turn of the wheel, every obstacle overcome, every smile exchanged with a stranger who suddenly doesn't seem so strange anymore. "It all reminds us that our shared humanity is stronger than any difference," Megan declared, her passion evident in every word. She spoke about the power of dance, not just as a form of expression, but as a metaphor for life. When we dance, whether standing, sitting, or in any other way, we connect with something bigger than ourselves. We move in harmony with the world around us, celebrating our differences rather than fearing them. As her talk drew to a close, Megan did something unexpected. She called Nathan to the stage. "Many of you may be wondering how someone in a wheelchair can actually dance," she said, a mischievous glint in her eye. "Well, let me show you." With a nod to the sound technician, the first notes of a soft song began to play. Nathan took Megan's hand, and together they began to move. It was a dance they had practiced for weeks, a choreography that mixed Nathan's fluid movements with Megan's graceful chair turns. As they danced, the world around them seemed to disappear. There was no stage, no audience, just two young people expressing love and acceptance through movement. When the song ended and Megan and Nathan stopped, panting and smiling, the silence that followed was broken by a deafening explosion of applause. The audience was on their feet, many with tears in their eyes, others shouting and whistling in approval. Dr. Winters took the stage, visibly moved. "Megan, Nathan, that was extraordinary. I think you've just changed the perspective of everyone in this room on what it means to dance, on what it means to live fully." In the days following the conference, Megan was approached by countless people, parents looking for inspiration for their children, educators looking for ways to make their schools more inclusive, and many others simply wanting to express how her story had touched them. But perhaps the most impactful moment came in the form of an email Megan received the night before she left Chicago. "Dear Megan, my name is Sophia. I'm 12 years old and I've been in a wheelchair since I was born. I've always loved dancing, but I never thought I could really do it. Watching you and Nathan on stage today, it was like a whole world of possibilities opened up to me. Mom says we're going to look for adapted dance classes as soon as we get home. Thank you for showing me that I can be a dancer, no matter how I move. With love and gratitude, Sophia." Tears streamed down Megan's face as she read and reread the email. Nathan, sitting next to her, hugged her gently. "See," he said softly, "that's why we do this. For every Sophia out there who needs to know that she can dance, dream, and live without limits." On the flight back to Portland, Megan reflected on everything that had happened over the last few months. The fear and insecurity that had once gripped her seemed like a distant past. In its place was a sense of purpose, a clear understanding that her journey was far from over. Arriving home, Megan was greeted by a surprise. Her friends from school, led by Zoe, had organized a small welcoming party. The yard was decorated with banners and balloons, and a large banner read, "Welcome back, our dancing star." As she chatted and laughed with her friends and family, Megan felt a deep sense of gratitude. Each person there had played a role in her journey, supporting her, challenging her, and believing in her, even when she doubted herself. Later that night, alone in her room, Megan opened her diary for the last time. "Dear Diary, today, I realize that every chapter of our lives is just the beginning of something new. What started as a prom night has turned into a life mission, a journey that has taken me far beyond the boundaries of Portland and myself. I learned that our limitations are often just the barriers we allow to exist in our minds, that the real dance of life happens not with our feet, but with our hearts. I don't know exactly what the future holds. Maybe more talks, maybe a book, or maybe even an inclusive dance school one day. What I do know is that as long as there is music playing, be it literal or metaphorical, I will keep dancing. Because now I understand that life is not about the cards we are dealt, but how we choose to play them. Well, I choose to dance with mine, with gratitude for yesterday, joy for today, and hope for tomorrow. Megan." Closing her diary, Megan looked out of the window at the starry Portland sky. The world outside was vast and full of challenges, but also filled with beauty and endless possibilities. With a serene smile, she got ready for bed, knowing that tomorrow would be the first day of the rest of her life. A life that she would live to the full, love deeply, and, above all, dance freely. Because Megan Foster had learned the most profound truth of all, that the most beautiful dance in life happens not just with our bodies, but with our souls. And her soul? Well, her soul was just beginning to dance.